Candidates are teeing off as well. Tim Pawlenty unveiled his economic plan Tuesday in a speech in the president's hometown of Chicago.
How you enjoying your recovery summer? Now, that's what the president said we were having, but that was last year.
Pawlenty, trying to woo conservatives in the primary, wants to cut the corporate tax rate, increase American exports, and freeze federal spending to balance the budget. President Obama is getting lots of friendly advice as well on how to talk about the economy, including from old President Clinton aides who have been more critical.
I just never thought, what they were saying about the economy reflected people's pain.
And even from his own old advisors.
You still got to continue to make the case that we're putting in place policies that are moving the country in the right direction.
White House aides believe their toughest opponent is not any Republican, but the economy itself. At least that's how they explain away privately the result in the new Washington Post ABC poll showing Republican Mitt Romney leading the president.
Good to see you.
For Romney, it's one piece of good news he hopes can calm down some conservatives, like the Club for Growth, still skeptical of his credentials.
It's up to the voters to decide if they want somebody that's going to explain and defend their mistakes in the past, or someone that says, I've learned from those mistakes, and let's move on.
By the way, speaking of Republican presidential candidates, we've made a little bit of a deal about the fact that Newt Gingrich took nearly 2 weeks off the campaign trail to go on vacation after announcing. Well, today, he finally returns from his vacation with an appearance in New Hampshire, Matt.
All right, Chuck Todd at the White House for us this morning. Chuck, thank you very much.
Bye, Meredith.
Bye, Chuck. Now let's get a check of the other top stories of the morning from Ann Curry over at the news desk. Morning to you, Annie.
And I'm going to miss hearing you say that, Meredith. Thanks so much. In the news this morning, everybody, good morning once again. At least 10 explosions rocked Libya's capital city this morning as NATO presses on with punishing daylight airstrikes. On Tuesday, its most intense barrage destroyed much of leader Muammar Gaddafi's compound. A defiant Gaddafi gave a radio address in response, vowing never to surrender. Meantime, in Brussels, NATO ministers will lobby for more countries to participate in the Libyan operation. The E. coli outbreak in Europe may be growing less severe. Germany's health minister told an EU crisis meeting on the epidemic that the number of new infections is quickly falling, but that is too early to give an all clear on the issue. A massive fire in Rhode Island overnight destroyed what was once the world's largest rubber mill. The vacant 19th century plant near the Massachusetts state line was on the National Register of Historic Places. It was just purchased last year by a company that planned to use it to generate green energy. Now to Wall Street and CNBC's Courtney Reagan at the New York Stock Exchange. Courtney, good morning.
Hi, good morning to you. And OPEC officials are meeting in Vienna to discuss increasing global oil production to help rein in those high prices. It's fitting timing because Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke actually blaming higher gas prices for that continued strain on consumers' wallets. Meantime, investors hoping for a positive catalyst to help turn around the Dow's 5-day losing streak. Wall Street saw stocks erase all of Tuesday's gain going into the closing bell on Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke's comments on the sluggish economy. Ann?
All right, Courtney Reagan, thank you so much this morning. Another stunning comeback for the Dallas Mavericks, who tied up the NBA Finals against the Miami Heat last night at 2 games each. Dallas's Dirk Nowitzki scored 10 points in the final quarter, leading the Mavs to an 86-83 victory. And to top it all off, Nowitzki did it while battling a 101-degree fever. And the Olympics will be staying here on NBC until 2020. NBC beat out ESPN and Fox to continue its coverage of the Olympics through the next 4 games. The network has carried every Summer Olympics since 1988 and every Winter Olympics since 2002. A lot of us cheering around here about that. It is now 7:18. Let's now go back to Matt, Meredith, and Al.
I can't wait to see you in Sochi.
Yeah. Come back.
You know what? That's cruel.
That'll be fun. No, that'll be fun.
Really?
You should come back and join us.
Exactly.
Is that
I thought you loved the Olympics.
I love the Olympics.
We could do a 3-man luge.
No. I'll do the skeleton.
Darn.
Mr. Roker.
Bad weather. Bad weather.
The heat continues, and we still have to deal with these wildfires out in Arizona. Now the second largest wildfire in Arizona history. The bad news is the winds are going to continue, very low humidity, and we may get sporadic lightning strikes, which may cause more fires. And then we move into the Midwest, the Missouri River, causing big problems. There are parts of along that river. We've had levee breaches and it looks like the flooding is going to last for weeks, for some areas even right through the summer. And as we look on the Today map, we'll show you for today, we've got a risk of strong storms in New England, also back through the Rockies on into the central Great Lakes. Some clouds, sunshine in Pacific Northwest. Sunny skies in Los Angeles, 68 degrees and sunshine. The heat continues, the record-breaking heat, Ohio River Valley, all the way up into New England. That's what's going on around the country. Here's what's happening in your neck of the woods.
Good morning. As you prepare to head off to work and school this morning, dress for a very hot day on the way. Right now, though, it's pleasant. We're in the upper 60s to near 70 in the suburbs, rural areas, low 70s to mid 70s in Washington near the Bay. Later today, though, soaring to near 100 degrees this afternoon. It'll feel like 100 to 105 with the humidity. We'll have poor air quality as well as the air pollution builds during the afternoon. Hazy, hot and humid again on Thursday. Small chance of a late afternoon storm, but a relief from the heat Thursday evening into Friday.
All right, Albert, thank you very much. Coming up, a critical piece of evidence called into question at the Casey Anthony murder trial by one of the prosecution's own expert witnesses. We'll have details on that, but first, this is Today on NBC. Rockettes were celebrating Meredith's journey here on Today all morning long. Our special farewell is just ahead.
But first, your local news and weather. Run!
Congratulations, Meredith Vieira. I'm going to miss you. I composed a song for your triumphant farewell. Well, it seems to me you lived your life like a candle in the wind. That's all I got. Okay, I didn't write that. But I love you. Ciao, Bella.
It sounds like you're firing me.
When they took away his job.
They said it's because I didn't go to college.
This isn't a very special announcement as we come to you live from the
7:30 now on a Wednesday morning. It's the 8th of June, 2011. You're looking at just some of the fun moments we've shared with Meredith during her great five-year run here at Today. We will not let her forget a moment of it. Inside Studio 1A, I'm Matt Lauer alongside Meredith. And coming up, we're going to celebrate Meredith's final morning with a look back at some of her most memorable moments. And we've lined up a couple of surprises that we don't think will embarrass you.
Yeah,
we think you'll enjoy.
But every single thing you showed is me looking like an idiot. Did you notice that?
No, it's you being yourself and
exactly,
being, and
that's
being
the problem.
fun and enjoying yourself.
Yeah.
By the way, the noise there is not Meredith shaking her collar. That's Jasper here this morning. That's Meredith's dog making his final appearance on the Today Show as well.
And my husband Richard is here, making a very rare appearance as well.
That's right. And that's not Richard.
No, but Richard has the same eyebrows.
It's nice to have both of them with us. Meanwhile, coming up in this half hour, did your favorite make the list? The Darth Vader kid, Kevin Bacon's take on Kevin Bacon. Just ahead, the commercials that were crowned the best of the year.
But we are going to begin on a serious note with what could be a major setback for prosecutors at the Casey Anthony murder trial. Two experts gave conflicting testimony on a key piece of evidence. NBC's Carrie Sanders is in Orlando with the latest. Good morning to you, Carrie.
Well, good morning, Meredith. Prosecutors say they will ask for the death penalty if Casey Anthony is convicted of murdering her daughter because they allege it was premeditated. And much of their case relies on showing that Casey used the chemical chloroform on her daughter. But now that part of the case may be in jeopardy.
Prosecutors had one of the world's foremost experts on corpses and the odors they emit, bolstering their case.
The point source of the odor was the trunk.
Dr. Arpad Vass explained how he examined the trunk of Casey's car and detected the chemical chloroform.
Because the chloroform was shockingly high, unusually high.
But on Tuesday, an FBI chemist called by the prosecution turned that evidence inside out when he said the chloroform levels he found were not noteworthy at all.
And it's not what you would call shockingly high levels of chloroform, would it?
No, it's not.
That contradiction is a critical conflict for prosecutors who are trying to build a case that Casey Anthony would use the chemical chloroform to knock out her 2-year-old daughter, Kaylee, while she partied. Investigators say they have examined the computer taken from Casey's home, and it shows searches for how to make chloroform. If the levels were excessively high in the trunk of the car, then prosecutors can suggest Casey was using the chemical on her daughter, a premeditated murder. But if the levels were not high, then the defense can argue that the chloroform was from a far more innocent source.
These levels of, I guess, residue levels of chloroform that were found and tested are equal to what you might find in a common cleaning product, is it not, sir?
Yes, from my experience, those levels have been detected in substances that have been used for cleaning products, yes.
The prosecution relied heavily on their expert to say that the levels of chloroform were astronomically high, but the FBI chemist said that they're low. It's going to be very hard to get a jury to ignore the testimony of the FBI.
Also key to the prosecution's case, their claim that Casey put Kaylee's lifeless body in the backyard.
You went there with Garris?
Garris was Deputy Jason Forgey's trained dog. The jury watched an infrared video of Garris, a canine with a proven record finding dead bodies. But in this case, Garris hit on a scent in the backyard only once.
I got an alert the first day and did not get one the second day.
For prosecutors, testimony that may have backfired. For the defense, not a huge victory, but a small step to suggesting doubt. And all they need to do to win this case is reasonable doubt. Meredith?
Thank you, Carrie. I'm going to miss you, too. Thanks so much, Carrie Sanders, reporting for us this morning. Wendy Murphy is a former federal prosecutor and child advocate. Savannah Guthrie is today's legal correspondent. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Savannah, if I can start with you. The prosecution has been trying to build a case against Casey Anthony based on circumstantial evidence. Based on what you saw in the courtroom Tuesday, was the defense successful in punching some holes in that case?
Yeah, the defense got a real opportunity because of an error by the prosecution on a key piece of evidence, this air can that supposedly has air samples from the trunk of that car, and prosecutors allege it will smell like death. That crucial piece of evidence was misidentified in court, which actually required the prosecutors to call back their key expert witness the second day and clear up the mix-up. I mean, in some sense, it amounts to a clerical error, but in the context of a trial, it was an opportunity for the defense because they were able to say, you know, you don't really have any expertise handling forensics, do you? So it's just another little piece of that reasonable doubt that Carrie Sanders mentioned. It's an opportunity that the defense will make the most of, not just yesterday, but also, I expect, in closing arguments.
Yeah, and Wendy, you've said that based on what you've seen so far, you believe that Casey Anthony will be acquitted.
I know, I don't often say that, do I? I was hopeful that there was evidence in this case that we hadn't heard about over the past several years, that some of the evidence has come out, but I figured there was stuff that we hadn't heard yet. And then I was so distraught during the prosecution's opening statement because I listened very carefully and I didn't hear any evidence at all that they have that Casey Anthony actually killed her child. There's plenty that she lied, plenty she was a bad mother, plenty she probably participated in burying the body, maybe even covering up the crime. But I didn't hear one thing that actually puts Casey Anthony at the murder scene or anywhere near her daughter at the time she died. In fact, to the contrary, there's some evidence that she didn't even have her car or her child during the 3-day period that prosecutors say she most likely died. So who had the car? Who had the child? That's still a mystery in this case.
Well, Savannah, it seems that the prosecution has successfully painted Casey Anthony as a liar, for sure. That combined with this scientific evidence that's been questioned by the defense, is that enough to sway a jury?
Well, especially I would say in a death penalty case, this is a tough case for the prosecutors. I think the jurors probably right now are thinking Casey Anthony was up to something bad. She certainly wasn't the greatest parent. She wouldn't know the truth if it hit her in the face. But will they be able to take that next leap? What they don't, I don't think, have right now in the state of the evidence is a clear picture of how this child died. They know that she lies, Casey Anthony. If she took the stand or anything she said, I don't think they would believe for 1 minute at this point. However, do they have enough to really have a clear picture of how this crime unfolded? And without that, will they be willing to convict her of this first-degree murder under penalty of death?
What is the most compelling piece of evidence they have at this point, the prosecution?
That's a very good question. In terms of proving how the child died, they have a piece of duct tape that they claim indicates it was placed on her mouth prior to death. They don't have any indication who did it. I agree with Savannah. As much as it pains me to say this, if the prosecution's opening is all the evidence they have, I would vote to acquit her because I think there's doubt all over the place.
What about
the tough case
the
for
defense's opening where they said, well, actually, she wasn't kidnapped. She drowned. Kaylee Anthony, she drowned in the pool, and her grandfather, Casey Anthony's dad, that he helped cover it up, and in fact, he molested Casey Anthony.